Netram Vishadam Dashananam, Nelam Dosha Netram Vishadam Dashananam, Hara Hara Mahadaya Namo.
The American cultural historian Thomas Berry said that we live at a moment of grace. By this he was meaning we live at a moment that humanity has never experienced before in terms of our awareness of life's essential oneness, the essential oneness and interrelatedness of the whole universe. How do we translate this consciousness into action that can be part of healing and transforming our lives and our world? One of the interrelationships that we're being invited to recover is the relationship between Eastern wisdom and Western wisdom. My trips to India and my contacts with Hinduism have been part of my own well-being. During one of my recent visits to India, I was seated one day in the Lal Bagh Gardens at the heart of Bangalore. An Indian gentleman strolled up to me in the gardens and began a conversation. Early in the conversation, he said to me, with a gentle wagging of his head, "I have one question for you. Who are you?" I sensed that he probably wasn't asking me what my name was, but I thought I would feel my way into this conversation. So I said, "My name is John Philip," to which he responded, "I was not asking you what your name was. I was asking, who are you?" I said in response, "I come from the same one that you come from." This pleased him well enough to continue our conversation, and he expounded for me very simply the heart of Hindu wisdom. He spoke of the self within all selves, or the soul within all souls, the one at the heart of all life. He then said, "I must be moving on now, but I have one final thing to say to you. You are God. And until you realize that you are God, you will not be wise, you will not be happy, you will not be free." How do we interpret this Hindu wisdom? One of the most emphatic things to say about that Indian retired banker's comment to me is that he was not addressing my ego. He was addressing that true depth of me that is also the true depth of him. It is the true depth of you and of everything that has being. He was speaking of the self within all selves. We have in our Western Christian inheritance some parallels to this great wisdom. Meister Eckhart, for instance, in the 14th century, said God is to be found in the human soul not by addition, but by subtraction. In other words, we don't need to add anything to our soul to find the sacred presence of the one from whom we have come. What we need to do, says Eriugena, is to subtract the separating ego, to come back into relationship with the one who is at the heart of our being and at the heart of all being. We need to do the work of subtracting. I need to subtract my separating self, to remember that my ego is not the center of my being, but the self within myself. We need, as a nation, to do the work of subtraction, to remember that our nation, the ego of our nation, is not the center of world relations. We need, as a human species, to subtract the ego of humanity when we pretend that humanity is somehow the only focus of the Earth's history and unfolding. This work of subtracting is the work that we are being invited into, and the relationship between East and West can bless this journey. Shall we do this work of removing our egos so that we can live in relation to the self at the very heart of our being, so that we can come back into relationship with our true soul force, which will be the soul force that heals and transforms us.
Newell